Hey guys, Woody the Unexceptional Gamer, I'll stress that. I wanted to talk about why I'm struggling in Battlefield 3. Now, first, I've been trying to put more games on my channel. I like Call of Duty, I really do, I enjoy playing it, but I don't want my channel to be only Call of Duty. I'm trying to sort of, vary it up a little bit and play some other games, and, with so many of my commentaries not being about the game anyway, I think, you guys might like it. So, Battlefield 3. Now, some people say, Woody, Battlefield 3 is a completely different game than Call of Duty. And you guys must have a different definition of completely different than I do. To me, Minecraft is a completely different game than COD. But Call of Duty, Gears of War, Battlefield 3, they all have their similarities. And some of the basics, like when I jump into Halo, I'm not good at Halo. But I can be kind of average at it, with even KDs and, helpful on the objective right away. Just because, I've played a lot of shooters and the experience kind of crosses over to some extent. Battlefield 3, I seem to be way below average. Some of the basics that apply across all shooters that I'm talking about, for example, you want to limit the number of angles from which you can be shot. That's true in every shooter, right? You're sort of safer on the edges of the map. If you're running across the middle like this gentleman I'm trying to shoot is, then you're much more likely to die, right? That's where the baby buffalo roam. The stronger players are gonna, use cover effectively and do their thing. By the way, I know there's bullet drop, I'm just new to it. So that's something that's common across all of shooters. For objective play in shooters, the basic idea of clearing it out, allowing people to sort of spawn closer to the objective. In Battlefield, you spawn on other players, or you can drop mobile spawn points. But so if you go in there, get a kill or two, then people start spawning on you. You have numbers where you want the numbers. That's common across lots of shooters. In Call of Duty, the spawning is automatic, but it's still kind of true. If I clear out an area and push into their zone, then you're going to start spawning closer to their zone as opposed to being pushed deep into your own zone. So that's, some of the things that happen in COD happen in all shooters. Halo would be a similar type system. But there's other stuff in Battlefield 3 that I'm just struggling to get a grip on. As you see, that guy just owned me. For example, there's a lot of players. I'm used to 6-on-6 games. How awesome was that slide? I'm used to 6-on-6 games. So, for example, if I wanted to cap a flag in Call of Duty, then I might, I don't know, go in there, maybe get a two-piece, 2 kills, and with that, I've eliminated a third of their team. They're stuck in a respawn delay. I can pull the flag, and I might run back with 0 or 1 kill. Right? That's all it takes in COD. Here I'm playing Capture the Flag, and there's 64 players on this map. So there's 32 on each team, and I find that means there's 10, 13 guys protecting their flag. I don't have any success. I've pulled lots of flags. I've never successfully returned a whole flag. Owned again, Woody. I've never successfully returned a flag in Battlefield 3 yet. I've only been playing for a couple of days. Because, I can get to it, but I can't clear out 13 people. So you think, alright, well, this requires bigger team tactics than before. But there's no mics, right? In the PC community, I'm playing on PC, by the way, there's sort of this intrinsic skill. I did this series for Machinima. It was, Engineering Win, right? Hutch would put it together and he'd get advice from other players and stuff. And something somebody told me in the comments on that once was Woody, this was Black Ops 1 on PC. And on PC, one of the skills that you're expected to develop is that you need to sort of intrinsically know what your team needs and then provide that. On Xbox, you might talk to each other. You might say, somebody help me cap B. And if you do that, then you're really a lot more likely to get some help than you might think. If you say it friendly, if you say, let's be one team and win this thing, then people will give you a hand. They really do. But because there's no mics in this, it's harder for me to sort of coordinate anything. And maybe I just haven't developed the skill to look at what everybody else is doing and understand what's going on in their head. Are they really all sort of playing together for the win and I just don't see it? It would seem like you'd need to get a tank on their flag to do some mass amount of damage and then pull the flag then. But that kind of coordination is something that I just kind of haven't managed yet. And working against, with 32 people on the enemy team, there's nothing that I can do. So, like, even the super version of me isn't going to be successful, against 13 guys. Like, I could never do that. So it's like, man, I'm struggling to succeed in Battlefield 3 because the differences between that and, like, I don't think it's the map size. I think I could get a grip on that and sort of understand the routes and the maps are really big, but there's so many cars and in Capture the Flag there's so many motorcycles spawning. You never really have to run everywhere. God damn it. But so I can work with the bigger maps. I can work with all the crazy lines of sight. But look at my killer here. It just, the bigger teams, like, that's changing up the game so much. I feel like I can't be effective very well. Like, I'm just rushing to my death too often, which, just pushes me back to my spawn and things aren't working right. Look at my team. I don't know if you could see. There's 3 guys behind me sitting on the hill, just sort of camping our flag. And, fine, whatever. Like, in COD, that'd be some sort of, terrible antisocial behavior worthy of punishment. But in Battlefield, I don't think it is. God, do I get this guy? I do. But in Battlefield, I think, it's just like, hey, this is a different play style. But there's always a half a dozen guys sort of lurking in the bushes ready to kill you. And the teams are so big that never ends. And there's no communication, so I don't know how to, like, partner up with teammates to make it work better, because you can't do it alone. And I can't do it with teammates because there's no communication between them. And I'm wondering if you guys had some advice on how to be more successful, and I'm talking about playing to win. I don't know why I'm going for the shot. I think one thing I could do is just play a little more selfishly, like whatever style it is. If I want to run around in the buildings with an SMG, if I want to sit here in the woods with a sniper, I could probably do that and be successful. But what I really want to do is play the objective. Like, that's my basic urge, If I were a wild animal, that would be my version of mating, I'd just be sitting there thirsting for objective play all the time. And objective play in a 64-player map, it's just a death trap for me so far. There must be a smarter way to do this, but I don't know it. I don't know why I'm lining up the tip of my reticle here. I should be bullet dropping, but maybe you guys have some tips for me, and try to be nice. I would really appreciate that. But, like, if you're successful in Battlefield 3, especially in Capture the Flag, with lots of players, then, lay out the basics in the comments, because I'd love to hear what you have to say and incorporate it into my own gameplay. So that's that. Oh, also, if there's other games you're interested in seeing me play, or, just seeing on your screen, then let me know, because I'm always looking for good ideas. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video.